We are 3 episodes away from saying goodbye to Outlander forever, and I need you to understand that everything happening right now in this final stretch is not just wrapping up a story, it is setting the stage for something much bigger than any of us expected. Because right in the middle of this farewell season, the first teaser for Blood of My Blood Season 2 just dropped out of nowhere, and that timing was not an accident. That was a deliberate signal from the creators that these two shows are about to collide in a way that is going to completely redefine how this entire universe ends. And before we get into that connection, we have to talk about where we actually are right now, because episode 7 did something that none of us were ready for, and Fergus is gone, and I do not think the fandom has even begun to process that loss properly, because Fergus was not just a character, he was a thread running through the entire emotional fabric of the story, and his death sent shockwaves through everything. And episode 8 is not going to let us breathe, because the grief continues while simultaneously Jaime begins preparing for the Battle of King's Mountain. And here is the detail that I cannot stop thinking about, because in the episode 8 promo we see Mr. Whittaker standing beside Jaime, and if you remember what Claire did for that man, if you remember that she brought his baby back from the edge of death, then you understand why this moment is so significant, because Claire intervening to save that child was not a neutral act, it was a disruption in the natural flow of time, and that disruption may have just saved Jaime Fraser's life, because without that debt of gratitude, Whittaker never joins King's Mountain, and without Whittaker standing beside him, Jaime's fate follows exactly the path written in Frank's history book, which means Jaime dies, and the fact that he is there in that promo means Claire's act of love and defiance against fate may have quietly rewritten the ending of this entire story. And then there is William leaving home, which sets off a chain reaction, because Lord John Grey, being the man that he is, will never let Ben's men get anywhere near William without putting himself between them, and that loyalty is going to cost him. And the theory that Lord John Grey ends up as a prisoner taken by Ben's men while trying to protect William feels almost inevitable, because that is exactly who Lord John Grey is, and when William finds out what happened, that guilt is going to push him directly back toward Jaime, and we could finally get the father and son reconciliation this show has been slowly building toward for seasons. And now let us talk about the finale itself, because I genuinely believe Outlander is going to give us a happy ending, and I say that not as wishful thinking, but as someone who has followed every thread of the story, because if Fergus' death nearly broke this fandom in half, then losing Claire or Jaime in the finale would not feel like a conclusion, it would feel like a punishment, and this love story has earned better than that. Jaime will survive King's Mountain, whether through Whittaker's loyalty or through Claire's own hands, and the idea of Claire pulling Jaime back from the edge of death one final time would be the single most emotional scene the show has ever produced, bar none. And now here is the part that changes everything, because the Blood of My Blood Season 2 teaser just reintroduced Henry and Julia, and when we last saw them they were standing at the stones about to cross through, and we still do not know if they made it. And in this new teaser we see them beside a young Claire, but I do not believe that is the present, I believe that is a flashback, and here is why, because we know with absolute certainty that Claire never saw her parents again after they disappeared, which means Henry and Julia did not successfully return to their own time. And the most compelling theory here is that they crossed through the stones thinking Claire, the way all time travelers anchor themselves to a person or a feeling, and because they do not fully understand how the stones work, they did not land where they intended. And the most likely scenario is that Henry and Julia got separated during the crossing, with Henry ending up in adult Claire's timeline while Julia ends up somewhere or someone else entirely, and that separation gives Blood of My Blood Season 2 the dramatic engine it needs, because Henry meeting the adult version of the daughter he left behind would be one of the most emotionally charged reunions this entire universe has ever attempted, and the moment she has to tell him she does not know where her mother is, that scene is going to wreck every single person watching. And then the rescue mission begins, because Roger could return to Blood of My Blood to help Henry find Julia, who we know was last heading towards Simon Fraser after Archbug found her, and the combination of Roger's experience and Henry's desperation makes for a Season 2 story that is not just a spin-off running parallel, it is a direct continuation of everything Outlander has been building. And with Blood of My Blood Season 2 confirmed for a fall 2026 release, the gap between farewell and reunion is not as long as it feels right now. So while we prepare to say goodbye to Jaime and Claire, we are simultaneously watching the door open for the next chapter. And if you want every theory, every hidden detail, and every emotional beat of this final Outlander journey covered before the finale hits, then subscribe right now, because we are not letting this universe go quietly.